I've got an AGA Model G and the pilot light has gone out, and I suspect that it's a thermocouple problem, so I've got a replacement thermocouple, and I'm going to try to repair this myself and show you how I did it. So I diagnosed this, and it looks like that it's the thermocouple for the pilot that's the problem, so I ordered a replacement thermocouple, so I'm going to install that. I also noticed that when I tried taking this apart and putting it back together, that there was a leak, and so I do not trust these flare connections right here, so I'm going to go ahead and replace that flare connection with the copper pipe and replace the thermocouple, and hopefully this will be back up and running. So while we're at it, since the stove is off and it's normally on all the time, we took this opportunity to clean up these various ovens. So we've got a nice clean AGA ready to go. Just need to get the burner working again. So in order to remove this, I'm going to take off that flare fitting there and that one under there. I'm also going to remove these adapters that go from pipe to flare and replace those. I've got some copper pipe, and I'll be getting that size correctly, forming it and flaring it. And then to get this thing out, you've got 4 screws right here you have to remove, and that'll get the whole thing out, and that will get our thermocouple exposed so we can replace that. So we've got the gas valve turned off, so we can go ahead and remove this connection. I can use this piece as a model when I build up the new connection. So I've loosened these screws, now lifted this out of the position. We have to be careful because here's the thermocouple for the burner control, and it's not easy to get that thing out of there, so I'm just going to leave that in position and be careful not to damage that. So now I can get access to this thing and remove it. These are the old flare fittings, and then I've got some new ones here. And I've got the yellow Teflon tape, and I'm inclined to go with pipe joint compound. So I'll go ahead and coat the pipe fittings with pipe joint compound and then fit these in. So here's the current part that I'll use as a model, and then I want straight shots in the area where the flare fittings are, and nice large radii, and we aren't going to win an award for saving copper, so it's okay for it to come out here longer. So that's what I'll start working on. I've got a tube bender here and some copper, so we'll get started. Okay, it's done. It's not a work of art, but I think it'll get the job done. Flaring done at the ends of these, so let's give her a try. Tighten these 4 screws back up. So I've replaced the thermocouple now. I replaced this valve, and I tried to start it and it will not start, and this there was a part fell out of this valve. The knob doesn't work correctly anymore. It's time to replace this EUROSIT 630 valve. So I've got this valve closed. I need to remove this cap so I can let the piezoelectric starter just hang loose. Got to disconnect the pilot here, disconnect this thermocouple, and disconnect this flange fitting, disconnect this gas fitting, and then remove it physically with these big screws here, and pop it out and then replace it. Alright, I got it out. So the two screws go in right here. There are spacers that go in front of this. So there are your two spacers, long screw and a short screw. There's a nut and a washer on the back side. And then here is the valve. And so I disconnected it here for the main gas line, and then I'll remove this elbow and fit it to the new valve, and I'll put a fresh iron elbow here and attach this flare fitting to it. Here's the old valve and the new valve. These valves are not identical. It looks like this one, the original one, had this pressure regulator in it, and this one has an adjustment. So I'm just going to have to hope that that adjustment is fine the way it is. It looks like the specs are all the same, the part number is the same. So, but I'm going to have to transfer a few parts. One of them, there's a I don't remember what this is right here, but I have to move that from here over to here. And I'm going to have to take the plug out of there, put it in here. I'm going to have to take this elbow out of here, put it in there. And then there's a plug in here that needs to go in here. And then put the fresh iron elbow in there. So I want to put the plugs in first, and I don't want to get confused about what goes where. So I'm going to move this out of the way so I can get an Allen head socket in there and get that thing out. Okay, that is an O-ring on it. Here's my new iron elbow. So I need to put this in right here, oriented that way. So the screw I took out of there, put in here, is the minimum flow adjustment. So I put it all the way in and then backed it out a turn or two. So just guessing. So I put the cover on with the piezoelectric starter, and then I hand started this, the main burner connection here, that flare connection. Then I'm going to fit up the spacers and the mechanical connection, finish this, and make the rest of the connections. Everything's installed. There were no leaks, and the pilot lit, so that is a good sign. So I did not put this in yet because I wanted to make sure that everything worked before I put that in. So I'm going to go ahead and get the burner started, and if the burner runs okay, then I'll fish this back up in there. The burner's running. So fish this back up in there, and now on the warming up of the oven, I'm told to set it on the lowest setting and leave it there for like half a day, and then slowly inch this thing up. So that's what I'm going to do. Now if we go to the roasting oven,
you can see that the thermocouple for the temperature control of the oven comes out through this tube, and it needs to go underneath or inside above this plate into this area, and I don't think I can get that in there without taking out the plate, so I'm going to take out the plate. I can pull the thermocouple out. So it looks like the thermocouple should sit in there like this. Now it's assembled and you can just see the thermocouple inside that slot in the bracket.
So I've been slowly inching up the temperature setting, and we're almost back up to the target, so everything, ooh, it's warm. Everything seems to be fine.